So in Classic WoW, there are a lot of secrets and hidden things in the game. There are quite a lot of speculated features and things that are hidden in the WoW database. So much so that there's been quite a lot of myths that have been created for Classic WoW, from unreleased expansions to hidden legendaries. There are so many mysteries and rumours in Classic WoW that went around back in the day. So the point of this video is to look at some of these myths that have been circulating around the Classic WoW community and examine how truthful they are. If you played Vanilla WoW when it came out, you will probably recognise some of the stuff on this list. And if you're new to Classic WoW, you might learn some interesting things about the game. So with that being said, here are 5 myths in Classic WoW. But before I get on with the rest of this video, you won't believe this video's sponsor. That's right, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is one of the hottest mobile RPGs out right now. Are you tired of childlike mobile RPGs? Well, Raid changes everything. With a detailed fantasy world and strategic gameplay, Raid brings you detailed console quality graphics to your phone. But not just that. You can now play Raid on your desktop as well. The cool thing about Raid is that you can build your squad to complement your other champions' weaknesses. So there's a lot of strategy in this game. There are so many champions to unlock, all with their own unique skills and abilities that give them a cool niche, which is something that I really like. So what are you waiting for? Go to the video description, click on the special link, and if you are a new player, you will get 100,000 silver plus 1 free champion, Hexweaver. But these rewards will only last for the next 30 days, so you better act fast. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. Good luck, and I'll see you there. So starting off this list at number 5 is the Ashbringer. So this is probably one of the biggest myths in World of Warcraft history, and that is the legendary two-handed sword, Ashbringer. So during Classic WoW back in the day, there was a huge rumour about a secret legendary item that you could obtain called Ashbringer. You guys are probably familiar with Ashbringer. This is probably one of the most lore-intensive items in the entire game. The Ashbringer was used by Tyrion Fordring and was actually statted and put into the Classic WoW database as a legendary item. It had insane stats and probably one of the best procs in the game that would deal a massive 700 fire damage. So needless to say, this was a very nice two-handed sword that was discovered in the database. Many players back in the day came up with all kinds of theories as to how to obtain it. Since this was in the database, there had to be some way to find it in the game. One of the biggest clues that Blizzard left was a junk book that you could find called Nat Pagel's Guide to Extreme Angling. This is one of these flavor text books that can give you some lore around the world. However, the thing with this book is that it had a few pages missing, but the last page says, and so that's where you'll find the legendary sword of the Scarlet High Lord, Ashbringer. So whatever the pages said before that was missing, but considering that this was a fishing book, this set a lot of people into a frenzy to find the Ashbringer by fishing. People went out to fish literally everywhere under weird circumstances in order to have a chance of fishing up the Ashbringer. However, of course, it was never found. Blizzard didn't release the Ashbringer to players because at the time, I think they felt some regret, and that it was a bit too lore heavy to be given to players as an equipable item, similar to how they statted Frostmourne but decided not to give it to players in Wrath of the Lich King, since they probably had some other plans for Ashbringer to be in the game and they felt they shouldn't give it to players. However, they compromised and put in the corrupted Ashbringer as an item that you could acquire. This was a two-handed epic sword that you could acquire from the Four Horsemen in Nexramas, which objectively is probably better than the legendary Ashbringer, as its DPS is quite substantially higher. The corrupted Ashbringer then went on to be one of the most sought after weapons in Classic WoW, A for its stats and B for the flavour of the item. This is an evil version of the Ashbringer. So this myth is half true. Yes, the Ashbringer was a real item in the game, just that there was no way to get it as a player and only GMs could spawn it into their inventory. Which is kind of a shame, but I understand why they didn't put it in. Number 4 on this list is the Emerald Dream. So the Emerald Dream was always theorized to be upcoming content in WoW. However, even to this day, it has never really came out. The idea is that this was an unaltered version of Azeroth, where nature has pretty much taken over and the major races haven't yet created their civilizations. The Emerald Dream is kind of like a parallel dimension in terms of the lore, however it could be accessed via a portal. Blizzard initially planned for the Emerald Dream to be its own expansion, however it was then replaced with the Burning Crusade. Now the reason for the Emerald Dream being scrapped as an expansion has quite a few few reasons to it. Blizzard said that they felt that the Emerald Dream was a little bit too homogeneous and unvaried. It's basically just a lot of wilderness, big grass fields with trees and stuff, and not much variance. However, that being said, before they scrapped the Emerald Dream expansion, there were actually massive work put into the Emerald Dream. In fact, there were several complete zones worth of world building that was put into the vanilla client, that some YouTubers and explorers like Haven Games have documented. The whole idea with the Emerald Dream is that it's big open fields with cool floating trees and alien textures, kind of like Outland but green. There was a rumour that the portal in Duskwood that spawned Lethron, who was said to be from the Emerald Dream, could be accessed to enter this new content. I believe this portal was envisioned to be kind of like the Dark Portal idea for accessing the Burning Crusade. You would step in here and you would then be transported to the Emerald Dream. And people came up with all kinds of fake videos and theories stepping into this portal under specific conditions, and they would then get teleported to the Emerald Dream. However, this was all false. Although the Emerald Dream map files were put into the vanilla WoW game, all of it is unaccessible, and only a game master can actually get into it. Okay, so number 3 on this list is rank 15. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with the pain of ranking in Classic WoW. I only had to get to rank 7 to get my boots and gloves in the game, and it was a really big headache. I never want to step into Alterac Valley again. However, that being said, rank 14 is a completely different game. To get to rank 14 is incredibly hard to achieve, taking something like 12 hours a day of grinding Alterac Valley for weeks. On the flip side, getting to rank 14 will give your class some really nice armor and some overpowered weapons, to be frank. So there is quite a big incentive for people to hit rank 14. However, that is not to say that this is the highest rank that you could have achieved in Classic WoW. There is actually one more rank, rank 15, and that is called the City Protector. So when the honor system was initially put into the game, rank 14 wasn't the highest rank. In fact, the City Protector was the highest. And the conditions for hitting rank 15 was quite extreme. In fact, you needed to have the most honor on your server to achieve this title. However, this was quickly taken out of the game. Perhaps they felt that this was a little bit too hardcore. So you may be wondering, what does rank 15 give you? What are the rewards for putting yourself through this extreme grind? A, you would get a new title depending on the race of your character. And B, you would get a unique spell that would teleport you to your race's city. Kind of like the Mage's teleport spell, except any class can use it. Which, let's be honest, that is pretty underwhelming. To have the most honor out of everybody in your server is just absolutely horrible. Basically saving you trading 1 gold to a mage to portal you to a city is not worth it. And to make things even funnier, to use the spell you would have to have rank 15 currently on your character, meaning next week when you are inevitably not rank 15 anymore, you would no longer be able to even use the spell, so you would only get access to the spell for 1 week, assuming you put in the 22 hours a day of honor grinding. I'm kinda curious as to what would happen if Blizzard puts rank 15 back into the game. You know there'll be some guy that would be crazy enough to try and grind this, but either way, rank 15 is kind of a relic to history. Yes, there was a rank beyond 14, but it didn't last long. Okay, number 2 on this list is Timberlane's Phylactery. So back in the early days of Classic, there was an item called Timberlane's Phylactery, and this was an item that could drop from a mob called the Large Vile Slime in Western Plaguelands. So what is the Phylactery? Well, this is basically a quest item that doesn't really do anything. The spooky thing with this item is that although this is a quest item, you would actually see this drop without having any quest to go and get it, which should be impossible. However, this was a quest item that could drop, regardless of taking any relevant quest. That being said, it had a very tiny drop chance, so this was very rarely seen. So what the heck is this? Why is there this quest item dropping from a Large Vile Slime? Well, Blizzard cleared up that this was a bug, and that it shouldn't have actually dropped to begin with. Some people speculated that Timberlane created the Ashbringer and was related to obtaining the legendary item I spoke about at the start of the video. Others speculated that this was a mage called Timberlane that got turned into a lich, and it could then be turned in for rewards, similar to the Kel'Thuzad's Phylactery, which after killing Kel'Thuzad and you loot his Phylactery, you can then turn it in to get some rewards. Kinda like the Dragonhead items that we have for Onyxia and Nefarian. As to the questline that would lead up to getting the Phylactery, it's still a complete mystery. And of course, whenever there was a mystery, people would go into rampant speculation mode, as they did with linking this to the Ashbringer. Although there was absolutely no reference with Timurlene's phylactery and the Ashbringer, people just went along with it. Unlike with the Nat Pagel's fishing guide, there was no connection, but people just made up this myth anyway. Okay, so number 1 on this list is the Talisman of the Binding Shard. So a lot of OG classic WoW players will recognize this name. The Talisman of the Binding Shard was an item that was accidentally put into the loot tables that could drop from Gar in Molten Core. And this was the only legendary non-weapon in the game, and this was a very odd necklace piece. It had some very interesting stats. I guess technically you could say that this is an item for melee DPS, as it gave you strength, agility and stamina, but it also gave you a massive 24 resistance to fire and nature, and it also had an unusual struck in combat effect of inflicting 4 damage back to the attacker. These stats are extremely odd. However, this did in fact drop, and only one player actually managed to loot this item, and that was a player called Nocturne. So after this necklace dropped, it was completely hotfixed out of the loot tables and never to be seen again. So after Nocturne accidentally picked this item up that a GM mistakenly put into Gar's loot table, it was never seen again. However, Nocturne was allowed to keep his necklace, I guess making it by definition the rarest item in the game. The necklace also had an interesting visual effect of giving you a permanent lightning ball animation similar to a lightning shield of a shaman, I guess to represent the 4 nature damage that it would inflict upon being attacked. So a lot of people accused that this was a fake item and this couldn't be real. The screenshots that were posted of the Talisman of the Binding Shard dropping, a lot of people of course said that that was fake. If you went onto Nocturne's armor page, it would display the item ID of the necklace on the website, even though it showed an error in the graphics user interface. So this essentially confirmed that he actually owned the item. It's still unknown as to what Blizzard were planning to do with this necklace. The fact that they hotfixed it out as soon as it dropped proved that they were working on some future content and didn't want to give it to players at that stage. Perhaps this would have been a necklace that would have dropped from Thunderan, or was another quest item involved in getting Thunder Fury. Either way, this is an item that we will never see again, considering that Nocturne has stopped playing. This is, for all intents and purposes, an item lost to history. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel. This is vaulty, signing out.